What's going on YouTube channel? It's Tars down again. I'm back with the Go Hard or Go Home. I got the blue-haired, kind of weird dude again today, Destiny. Been watching this dude, man. He be schooling the hell out of these doggone manosphere guys. I've almost gotten sick of it. And most time I see him getting to school, they ask me black too, and that's pissing me the fuck off. I'm gonna go ahead and watch blue-haired weirdo do it to him again today. And I'm tell you something, bro. I'm thinking about. I've never thought about, like, when I start this YouTube channel trying to talk with other people or collaborate or speak with other people, but I might have to try to get up with this blue-haired guy because he's just kicking ass with this shit and these people just not getting it. Before we get into this video, y'all hit the subscribe button for me, okay? I ain't gonna do that Cash App shit. I'm not gonna do that doggone Patreon jump. Or you send me money. I don't want donations. I don't want none of that. All I want is the subscribers, and we're gonna go ahead and keep see what's happening. So, without further ado, let me move my stuff over here to the other side because I can see right now that I'm blocking some of the screen here. Okay, so there's blue-haired dude, and he's talking to the other guy, and they're talking about when he was at. Then they're calling him dude with blue hair too, because you can see that. This is a black people thing. This is how we see him. So the thing of it is they're having a debate about blue-haired dude being on the Fresh and Fit show, which I made about 2 clips now of him just ripping them a new asshole. So I'm gonna see what these guys say to this guy. I heard a couple of the little complaints early in the video. Let's play a little bit of this. I'm not gonna play the whole thing. It's like an hour and some change. Maybe like 15 to 20 minutes of it. Maybe 10 to 15 minutes. But let's see what he's going to talk about. I got it right now where he's going to start talking about the debate. So let's see what happens.
That important to you that we need to pull it up to make sure we get that part right. But I do know he said that who's more likely to love unconditionally. I do know for a fact he definitely said that. And it did seem like you came to understand it later. I know you're saying that he changed his point later. You're saying he changed his point later. But no, I think he said it from the beginning. You probably just didn't hear it.
Maybe I misunderstood it initially. Yeah, I don't know. I think the question is a little strange. I don't know who could love more. I don't know if it's like a male versus female thing, but yeah, it's possible that maybe I misunderstood the initial question. We clarified it. But.
Okay. So I guess I'll start right here. What was one of your biggest problems you had with Fresh and Fit when you were on their show? What was one of the biggest problems you had with something that they said? I guess we'll start right there.
I think their entire model of breaking down male-female interactions is like really wrong. I don't like I think it's way too adversarial. I think that they're completely out of touch with what normal women are like. And I think that the way that they analyze the world and they tell young men to act, I think creates so much more of the world that they hate. Like they're setting everybody up for failure or to become.
Got to agree with the blue-haired dude. That's what's going on with the Fresh and Fit show. Hell, they say they're fixing a problem when they're actually just compounding it. Got to agree with them on that one.
On people that they wouldn't like.
Explain what you mean when you say it's adversarial. Because I know some men would view it. Some men would view it that way. Some men would view it that way because a lot of men are lost out there. A lot of men are lost out there dealing with women. They don't know what they're doing. I mean,
hey, check this out, guys. I want y'all to pay attention to that topic. The Myron Gaines loss. He said loss. They don't understand how to spell either. Loss or debate to a male feminist with blue hair. All right, he ain't a male feminist. The dude just got better skills than him, but Myron lost that debate. Myron loses his debates to the OnlyFans chick, so.
They quoted the stats about the 30% of men being incels or not having any sex in the last year or something like that. So clearly there's a breakdown with men and dealing with modern women. And I think your approach, and you could clarify this, your approach is that, you need to clean up yourself and be a little nicer or whatever. But
first off, I want to bring up this point right here. This joker didn't realize that he said 30% of men that's having this problem. About 30%. That means that the rest of 70% don't have the problem and nobody gives a damn. See, here's the thing about being a man, which they don't seem to understand because I think they're part of that. These guys are part of that 30% too. The guy talking, this black dude right now, he's part of that 30% too. Weak ass, whiny ass, bitch ass, loser. Okay? Just all of that. And nobody cares about guys crying. We learned that in school. Should learn it in grade school. You should learn it before you even went to school. Nobody cares about you crying. If you don't get it, if you can't become part of the 70% that's good, your ass is screwed. And nobody cares. That's what they should be telling them. The real man message. But they want to do this coddle these guys thing.
It seems as if you don't look at it as much in this situation where women have changed. Like I talked about. They can work and make their own money. A guy making enough money to basically put a roof over her head.
This is one of the complaints that I hate these fucking red pill. Because if they're black dudes, it's not manosphere. It's pretty much red pill. What the fuck is the problem with a woman having a job? Because you don't have a better one? You might want to get the better one. It's just that simple. I ain't got no problem with women having a job. I got a better one than her. I got a bigger business than her. Could they date up? This is a whole deal. This shit is dumb. Blue hair ain't even gotten his ass yet, and I'm already doing it. But let's just keep going.
That's not enough. He has to be able to do more. He has to be able to present more. And if this regular woman who would get with a regular guy who could, put a roof over her head and that was enough, is basically saying this regular guy has to go above and beyond regular just to get with a regular chick. So that. Well, no, I mean,
I think, yeah. Okay, so, I mean, I agree with you that like men have to do more now, but like what they were doing before was like an embarrassingly bare minimum. Like you have to work a job and that was it. And now you have to actually be a good partner. And I think that men need to spend more time like figuring out what it means to be a good partner in a relationship. I think it's a little bit. Yeah. Go ahead.
Obviously, you understand there still was some relationship dynamics. I mean, yes. Working a job and being able to provide, yes, that was the basic standard. Being able to protect and provide, that got the man in the door. But I think that's some propaganda to think that the guy was beating her over the head with a club just because I can provide and take care of you. So you're gonna get beat over here with a club? No, there was definitely some relationship dynamics and understanding and conversations. I mean, women. I don't buy the idea that women were just as downtrodden and beaten up by these men who they needed. I think it's more so a situation.
First off, he's got a misconception of what the hell it is. Okay, it's not about the women being downtrodden and beaten. Here it is. Okay, not having a job took certain opportunities away from you. All right, number one is having money. Okay, you cannot survive without money in this country. That's the whole deal. All right, you didn't have to be abusing nobody, none of that junk. See, they have to throw extremes in there. It could have been a perfectly good relationship, but the one person was still at a disadvantage. The dude could have been a good guy and everything. And that's what I think this blue hair guy is telling them. The guy could have been a good guy and everything. He just that was a different position. Now, them women having jobs is even the playing field, and these guys can't handle it. That's what it is.
That when women needed men, families worked out. Soon as women didn't need men, now all of a sudden families don't work out. To try to circle that back and try to pin that on men for not being nicer or not doing more or not going above and beyond to be an above average man for this average chick that she should be happy with him. You're telling men basically get out there, tap dance in a top hat and be excellent for these chicks.
What you're saying is be excellent or pull up or like go above and beyond. I would view as like bare standards for being a decent human being. If your only way of getting a girl ever was like,
be excellent. He's looking at it be excellent or be above average. Having a freaking job ain't above fucking average. It's the normal, everyday, average person. The problem these guys have is that women don't have to take that. It's like what I said in my video, the hierarchy of dating. And I have a chart in that video also. I show you on that chart. You and this percentage of men. These women are this percentage of women can go from this part. Women can go up or down or middle way. They can date where they want. That's the problem for these guys. If you're a top level guy, you can date all the women you want. But if you're a bottom level guy, you can't do that. But a bottom level chick can get guys from the top.
Like relying on the fact that you can work, that means you're a weak man. That means that you just don't offer anything. You're nothing. Like you're just a body that shows up at a factory, puts something together, and then goes home and thinks that that's enough to like land you some sort of relationship. And in the past it was, but I think it's a little bit sad that our standards would revert to that, and that we think it should go back to that. Like, oh God, like this woman can work, a job, and now the fact that my paycheck isn't enough to win me a wife means that I'm completely and totally lost and hopeless.
Yeah, see, and that's the problem. That's what they're saying. Now, just because I can't have a regular job and a woman want to marry me, now everything is all bad. No, that's not all bad. It just means you're gonna have to try harder. But I don't think they want to do that either. This manosphere shit is weak. These are weak men.
I think it's time to like step up and like be an actual decent person. Like figure out how to be emotionally available in a relationship. Figure out how to be a good partner. Figure out how to make a woman date you, other than the fact that like society says she's not allowed to work a job and get a paycheck.
All right, I want to circle back to the beginning of what you said. I was going to cut you off, but I wanted to.
No, you couldn't answer that right there. When he just told you what I just said, you really can't disagree with that. That's the problem.
Let you finish and get it all out. Circling back to the first thing that you said is that you saying, no, you have to be a decent human being. You haven't first substantiated the claim that these men who were taking care of their families were somehow not decent human beings. You haven't substantiated that claim. You're just believing, I think you're believing on faith that they were terrible human beings. I think that's what you're doing. And
see, they got to keep putting this bullshit ass, they were terrible people. No, that was not fucking enough once people got their own job. You see, the crazy thing about this damn manosphere shit is that these people complain or they contend to be so damn intelligent. But if you were that smart, you would realize that somebody getting their own job is going to depend on somebody else's money, go away. It's kind of the same thing as when you got a job and you moved out of your freaking parents' house. It's the same shit. You see, when you were depending on your parents' money, they could tell you anything they wanted to. But then you got your own money, it was like, yo, fuck them. I can think what I want to. Now they got to talk to you and try to get you to see it that way. The same shit happened. It is no different. These people don't understand because they don't want to understand. The blue-haired guy's telling them right. They just want to, they want to be able to have a job and that be enough. It's not. And we're not saying you bad people. He ain't saying they bad people. He just saying that shit you're going to have to do some extra now because the same way your parents can't just come running at you and then you can't do that either because...
Therefore, when you believe that on faith, you can now say that, oh, well, you have to be a decent human being. You got to first substantiate your original claim.
Sure. So I would say that the emotional availability of men, the ability to communicate with...
What does that mean?
Being able to understand how somebody feels about something.
What does that mean? That's the problem right there. That's the problem. What does that mean? They don't know none of the shit that women want. Or just even people in general. This is why you can't be the leader.
Be able to have like emotionally fulfilling relationships or conversation with somebody that extends beyond just being there, earning a paycheck, and having kids, right?
Who listens to the other person more? Do women sit there and listen to men cry on their shoulder more, or do men listen to women cry on their shoulder more? Because if men have to listen to women and all their problems and crying on the shoulder, I think that's men being emotionally available.
No. Because you can listen to somebody's problem and you cannot hear what the hell they got going on and you cannot know what to do about it. Emotionally available means that when they explain the problem to you, you can get an understanding of the problem. Don't mean you just listening. And besides, we ain't supposed to be crying on women's shoulders. We don't do that. You ain't supposed to be explaining your problems to her. You really supposed to have your circle and y'all go talk about the problems in there and then you go back and fix the damn problems. That's how that's supposed to be happening. But these guys want to be able to cry on women's shoulders. They want women to have... See, that's a problem too. They want the same stuff back from women that we give to them. And that's just... They losers, man. These people are losers. Let me go see what Blue Hair gonna say.
Right.
So the fact that your emotional vocabulary is limited to either extreme anger or crying on their shoulder is showing exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it is limited. You just limited to that. Because if it wasn't limited, you could understand what the man was saying. If your vocabulary wasn't limited to this is this, you can understand what he's saying. That's why I can get what he's saying. Because my emotional vocabulary isn't limited to just that right there. Let me see what kind of excuses Lou's going to give.
Those were the examples that I gave.
No, those are the ones you gave, but every single time I'm talking about this, like people will go like, oh, like guys have to cry and break down. Like there is a whole gamut of emotion that people can experience. And if being emotional or understanding emotion is just like somebody crying on somebody's shoulder, there's way more to life than that. There's way more emotional experience than that. And I think that historically, I think that the archetype of man has typically been one of like stoic, emotionless, doesn't talk to anybody, has PTSD and commits suicide at 3x the rate, but doesn't complain about their problems, goes overseas, kills people, doesn't report about their depression, comes back and goes postal. Like these are like the classic, like problematic archetypes of man that I think we're like kind of sort of having to work through now in society, because it's not enough to be that now and get a wife, because you can't just capture them with paychecks like Pokemon.
Even he had to laugh at that because it's the truth.
All right, going back to what I said, I just want to make it clear.
Yeah.
I want to make it clear. I wasn't saying that those were the only two range of emotions. Those were just the examples that I gave in a conversation where I obviously can't write out an essay. So when I said crying on the shoulder or listening to her problems, like women come to the table with more emotions. They're more emotionally volatile. The person who they typically dump that on is the man. So I'm saying right there, even though men may not, be as talkative and want to come throw all his problems on her, the fact that he's there, who's the guy who's there in listening? Who's the guy who's there and listening to her and talking to her and even helping her and giving her advice and even solving a lot of those problems, to try to say that, again, the term emotional availability, emotional maturity, first things first, those are not really measurable, tangible, quantifiable terms, and women like to live in that safe space of talking about things in a way that they can't quantify it, but that's fine. Even if I go with you down that rabbit hole, that man lives with that woman for 24 hours. I don't think it was a time, well, maybe you go back far enough, but it's not a situation where men are just popping women in the mouth saying, shut up, I don't want to hear your problems. No, men, that's part of the deal. That's part of the deal. I think a small percentage of men could just beat their chest and say, I ain't listening to your problem, go tell your friends. But I think most men are there for their women. So you're coming at it from a perspective, again, I'll go back to the point that I don't think you properly responded to. You started with the notion that men were just naturally bad people, and then now the game. Okay, well, you technically.
The man did not say that. And just so that people know that because you see most of these guys talking like this and they're black, we don't all think that way. We're not dumb. We're not dumb. We understand these things, and there's ones like me that get it. Okay, but the majority of junk you probably gonna see on this is these type of losers. Oh God, let's go on a little bit longer.
You technically did when you said they need to be better people.
Yeah.
That implies that they weren't as good and they need to get better.
Yeah, I don't think men were bad.
I don't think. Okay, but I still don't think you substantiated that claim. I still don't think you substantiated either claim.
Yeah. Okay. To be clear, I don't think that men were bad. Okay.
He didn't make the claim. He didn't make any of the claims you said. So now you got to explain himself. See, you got to keep explaining yourself to these people. But it's like I keep telling everybody. These red pill jokes, these manosphere guys, you're going to have to keep explaining. That's why I don't really even talk to them.
Okay, so I've written down what you said, and I disagree with almost every single point you said. I think all of these are wrong.
Okay.
So one, you said women come to the table with more emotions. They might come to the table with more emotions, but that doesn't mean they have more emotions. Men have plenty of emotions that they just don't know how to process and they don't know how to work through. If I had to guess, it's probably because from a very early age, men aren't really taught properly to deal with their emotions because we tend to externalize things. When boys get mad, they want to like punch and hit things, and parents will say, no, don't do that. So you're kind of taught to repress from an early age, whereas women tend to express things more or
women,
through talking.
hit,
Or, hold on, wait, hold on.
mad.
You just talk for a whole like 5 minutes.
I got you. I'm giving you the thumbs up. You got it.
Okay,
You got
so
it.
when women express emotions as children, it tends to be through things like crying or complaining, and that's okay. So they're usually taught to process those emotions healthier, right? And like men tend to carry more of this like baggage, repression, and shit with them through life. I think this is why men comprise like 80% of suicides versus women, right? I think it's because men have a lot of emotional problems that they can't process. When you say women are more emotionally volatile, I hear this claim over and over and over again. Women are more emotional. Women are emotional. Why? Oh, because they cry more. For some reason, anger is never viewed as like an actual emotion by any of the Red Pill community. When we say women are more emotionally volatile, do they cry more? Yeah, sure. But like guys will bump into each other at the club, scuff their shoes, and then somebody's dead like 5 seconds later, right? Like how many, like when you're hearing about things like domestic violence, like who's causing more of the damage? It's men. When you're looking at things like violent crime, like 98% are men, right? So when we talk about like who's more emotional, like yeah, women might be more sad or they cry or they do things, you know, some of the times. But I would argue that that sort of emotional expression is way healthier than guys that kill themselves over stupid shit. And this is a huge epidemic. Wait. You said like 10 wrong things. I gotta go through all these, okay? When you say, well, you talk a lot, dude. So I'm gonna respond.
I get it.
He put a little chart up there to show that it's perpetuated more by women. We know it's perpetuated more by women. We know that those domestic things are probably more the woman. He said who's gonna cause more damage in that shit, and it's gonna be the man. When you get pissed off and whoop that ass, there's gonna be more damage. See, they keep focusing on bullshit like that. And guys know this shit. We already know that. That other 70% that's getting sex. See, he said the 7 to 30% thing. 30% of guys wasn't getting it. It's just that 30% of guys don't get women. That's why they can't get them. That's why they can't get sex. You can't get with women. You can't get them. You can't get what they got. It's the same thing as if you don't understand, you want a loan from a company, and you don't understand that they want you to have this, this, and this, and you don't have those things, you're not getting a loan. It's kind of the same damn thing.
If you want to go point by point, we can. But if you're going to rattle off a bunch of things, of course I'm going to rattle off a bunch of things.
All right. Let's going forward. Let's go.
You said
closer. Hold on, real quick. Just going forward after you go through my 10 things. Let's try to go closer to point by point.
Yeah, I like that. I like it.
I got caught off guard with this. I don't got my. I want to write down some of this. I want to write down some of the shit you're saying, but
Sure, I just use a notepad or computer. You said women dump emotions more on men. That's not true. Women do not have emotional conversations with men because they can't. Because men today aren't able to. That's why if you look at the differences, between conversations women have with women versus conversations that men have with men. And every comedian ever has at least one joke in the routine where they've laughed about this, where a guy goes, hangs out with the woman of his dreams, goes home, and like, you know, his friends are like, oh, how'd it go? And he's like, okay. Like, oh, did you have fun with her? Yeah, she was cool. And it's like women will be like, oh my God, I saw this guy, he made me feel this way, he did this thing, and blah, 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 blah. There's so much more emotional unloading and sharing that goes on when women talk to women versus when men talk to men. That's just true. When you say men don't dump their problems on their women, yeah, I mean, maybe
they don't.
Okay.
I said they don't.
You said
women. I said women do that more. Just like what you just said. When a woman talks to a woman, she has so many things to say. Or the point that I was making is that when she's talking to her man, she also has so many things to say. So when you use that undefinable, unquantifiable term about emotional availability, I'm saying that he is being emotionally available to her if he's there to listen to all her shit.
Sure. I mean, I guess, but I think in general, I think men have a much harder time having these sorts of conversations than women do with other women. When you say men give advice or help.
Okay, so he agreed with him. He just said, yeah, you got me a beer. Yeah. So, and the funny thing is, they always wind up in these conversations agreeing with this dude.
People or solve problems or whatever, oftentimes, like as a piece of personal advice, this is usually somebody failing to listen. Oftentimes when people are complaining about something, they're not looking for somebody to try to like fix a problem. They just want somebody to be there to empathize with them, to hear a problem, and then just kind of do that. You said that emotional maturity and availability are not quantifiable / measurable terms. Sure, but like just because something is hard to quantify doesn't mean it's not important or it doesn't exist. Like maturity is hard to quantify, but we can definitely see that some people are more mature than others.
Oh yeah. And,
some gates are better left,
you know what I'm saying?
unopened.
Hey,
women want to talk about things they can't quantify. I mean,
we can definitely see that some people are more mature than others. That could have been a sneak diss. You know what I'm saying? Because, yeah, these guys are very immature.
Men talk about, dude, half the Red Pill conversations are about things like sexual market value. And the last I checked, there aren't any like PhDs publishing math papers on how to like measure that concretely, right? Like these are like everybody talks about these types of dynamics that are really hard to quantify. You say men live with women for 24 hours. It's not. You say men live with women for 24 hours. What the whole classic archetype and joke of a guy is, I want to get home from work and I want you to leave me the fuck alone, right? How many old sitcoms, how many episodes of Roseanne or All in the Family or any of these like old sitcoms, it's like the guy comes home from work, he sits down, and as soon as he does, the nagging wife comes, and it's like, did you do this with the kids? Did you do that? And the guy's like, just leave me the fuck alone. Where do you think the concept of a man cave came from? Men work, they come. Let me finish. I gotta go through it. You want to go point by point after we can, but I gotta respond to everything.
You're streaming. Hold on, real quick. You're streaming live on your show, so I understand this is like technically your show too. So I don't want to, I'm being fair, but you're floating a lot of shit out there.
You're not being fair. The problem is that when he coming back with shit and he's showing you statistics, the same thing that y'all be talking about, you can't deal with those. See, the problem with this red pill shit and this Mansfield shit is they take certain stuff and look at it. They don't look at everything. That's why they are unbalanced people, and they're going to remain unbalanced people.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I thought when you were speaking. That's why I wrote it down.
That's why I said
I got like two things.
After you finish, okay, you got two more things.
Yeah, that's it.
Your two more things. We're gonna go point by point.
See, and I want y'all to get that these Mansfield guys just like women. They can't let you finish. A woman won't let you finish talking either. Now this dude done sat here and listened to him for about 5 minutes or so, just talking. But when it's the guy's turn to when it's other guy's turn to talk, he can't let him talk. Like how a woman does. These Manosphere guys are women. They are women. That's why they can't attract women. Women don't want other women. But they acting like women. He's acting like a woman right now. Right now.
Fine.
And therefore,
I'm cool with that. You said right. Men are. You keep alluring. Or you keep alluding to this idea of like men popping women up. I'm not saying that men were like abusive, horrible fucking people. All I'm saying is that traditionally, the domain of like man in the relationship of men and women was to just like earn a paycheck. And I think that's pretty shitty. I'm not saying men were all like abusive.
Wait, hold on, say that again. Say that again.
In a relationship, traditionally, like if you go back like 40, 50, 60 years ago, or especially like pre-World War II, all men had to do was like earn a paycheck. That was like their biggest contribution to the relationship. As long as they earn a paycheck, they're like good. And I'm saying that now the standards are a lot higher. Men have to bring something to the relationship besides just a paycheck because women can work. Okay, that was basically all right. Okay.
All right. So now, obviously, I'm not going to get to everything that you said there. You said about 10 things I disagree with too. I didn't write all that shit down. So I'm not going to get to all of that. But when you said something about men being more violent in relationships, I'll start right there and we'll take this one point by point. This is RM, drop that down. Drop that the Cash App thing down. I don't need to see that. So I'm trying to show something on the screen here, and you just brought that up. All right, I got it. Okay. Okay. Let's just go right there because when we're talking about women or men being more emotional. One, you talked about violence when it comes to men. Okay, first things first. There's obviously a lot of men on the far end of the spectrum when it comes to men being violent and killing one another. Like we understand that. We understand men have more testosterone, they're more aggressive, they fight more, they usually fight and kill men the majority of the time. That's something that men do. It's awful, it's messed up. So we get that. But when we're talking about interpersonal, you did this with Myron a lot. When he's talking about the social dynamics between men and women, you would take it to, sometimes the dynamics between men and men, which is going to be different, which means that men, if men are more violent and more murderous when dealing with men, but they tone it down when it comes to women, that means one thing, that clearly they're putting in check the aspects of their violent or...
Okay, what this dude's failing to understand, because he's backdoor backing Blue Hair up, okay? Because Blue Hair told him that while women are out of control of emotions like sadness and being happy and all that stuff, men are out of control of the emotion of anger. That's over emotional also. That's why you have red pill rage. Out of control of the emotion of anger. So you're emotional also because you can't control an emotion. they keep going around that part. That's why they cannot heal from that. That's why they can't actually control it. But the whole deal of it is let's go.
Emotionally volatile nature when it comes to dealing with women, because they're not attacking women in the same way that men get attacked. But
I'm just curious. Can I ask a question on that, just in the same vein before we go? Like, if I were to look up, and I don't know these numbers off the top of my head, but if I were to look up like deaths of women, and I were to see the percentage of like men versus women that kill women, do you think of all the women that have died, do you think it's mostly women killing women, or do you think it's mostly men killing women? Or do you think it's about 50-50?
No, I think it would be 50-50. We recently were talking about that, and somebody did bring up some data that I don't have in front of me. But when it comes to killing, yes, men kill more than women. That is an issue. That is a problem. So I don't know what larger point that you're trying to make there. I don't know what larger point you're trying to make there. But no, I'm willing.
The larger point, since he doesn't understand, is that men have a problem controlling parts of their emotions also. It's just not the same ones that women have. They call women overly emotional and tell women that they're too emotional, but they have problems controlling some points of emotion also. So that's what he's trying to say. But you can't get this point across to the guys in the manosphere. They're not mature enough to get an understanding of any of this stuff. We're gonna watch a few more minutes of this, and then we're gonna get out of here.
I'm willing to say, even without looking at the data, that they're on the far end of the spectrum of the bell curve. There's a bunch of psychopathic, murderous men who kill more. I'm willing to say that, and that doesn't negate any point that I'm trying to make. Because when you talk about violence in a relationship, the data on this goes as simple as this: the majority of relationships are nonviolent. 84% of them are nonviolent. Only 16% of them there's violent. When it comes to those violent relationships, 58% of it is bidirectional. That means two people are being violent towards each other. And 42% of it is unidirectional. That means one person is being violent. So when you look at the unidirectional relationships of which there is violence, the relationships where there's unidirectional violence, meaning one person being violent, 66% of that, 2/3, is perpetrated by women. So you can look at the data right there and see that in relationships, women are more violent towards men. So I will say that and circle it all the way back to your previous statement that they're better at keeping their emotions under control because they've been taught to do that from the start early on in their life. When they cry and they get patted on the head, oh, that's okay, it's okay to cry. Apparently that still doesn't matter, because even when they get in relationships with men, when it comes to unidirectional violence, they're more violent than men in these relationships. So that debunks your initial claim that they got their emotions more in check.
So I don't think having your emotions more in check is a direct line to of all the people that get physically abused in a relationship, who's more likely to do some of the physical abuse. Because the first question would be, well, how many relationships are physically abusive? Because if all the relationships, if like 5% are physically abusive, of those 5% of the women in that 5% that abuse their partners, does that mean that all women now have less emotional control than men? I don't think that's like a non sequitur.
Say that again.
Sure. So you're trying to take the minority of relationships that involve physical abuse, and you're trying to say that since women are more physically abusive in the minority of relationships that have physical abuse, therefore we can say that all women are not more emotionally mature than men. That doesn't logically follow.
No.
No, I don't.
If you take simple math, you fucking idiots, and you look at it, the small percentage of relationships that have the domestic violence, because that's not all of them, that's a small percentage of them. You gotta take that percent of women, which is a smaller percent of women, because that's a smaller percent of the relationships. The numbers just, oh God, I be high and drunk and I get this. And these guys are sober and they don't understand. When you take that and you break it down to the numbers, that number gets so goddamn small that you can't even put it with the rest of other women for real. You can't. So, here, watch this. There's a percentage of men in there that are being more violent. If it's 66% of those women in that study are being violent, if you take that number and say 66% of women are violent. You have to say 44% of men are violent, almost half. See, these assholes don't even think about this type of shit when they talking.
I don't get what you're saying right there, because clearly the example that I use the relationships of which there's violence.
Sure, but so it might be that within the...
Hold on. I see what you're doing. And I don't think you realize that you kind of debunked one of your previous points, because you use the men that are on the violent spectrum or on the killing spectrum and said, men are more this or men are more that. When I did the same thing and I showed data for it, then you wanted to step back and use a broader lens and exclude those. You're bending over backwards to try to take women being more violent than men in relationships off the table. If they're more violent than men in relationships, I think it stands to reason that they're more argumentative, combative, bitchy, and cussing the other one out. I just think that's not a far reach to say that the group of people that are more violent in relationships are also the people that are the most argumentative and causing the most problems. I don't think that's a far reach. So why would you try to exclude the violence and say, let's look over here at this, let's take it to an immeasurable, unquantifiable place so I can just advocate for women. That's what you really just did.
Yeah, okay, so I'm not trying to advocate for women. I don't care about advocating for women. So backing up, originally we had the question of, the reason why this got brought up was, who is more emotional? Right? And I'm trying to think of what are ways that I can measure who is more emotional? Well, I think that anger is a type of emotion. So if I look at homicide rates, broadly speaking, I can see that things like men commit way more violent crime than women, right? A lot of these are crimes of passion, or things you could argue are stemming from some kind of emotionality, right? I don't know if a hyper rational person commits violent crime. That was one example. Another example
that I talking about interpersonal relationships and social dynamics between men and women.
Well, no, I was broadly speaking. Where this point came up from initially was I was just broadly speaking in response to the idea that women are more emotional than men. And then I gave the example of from childbirth. I think men are kind of taught to repress because it comes out in physical ways, and women are taught generally more to process. And so I think that's why for men it comes out in more toxic ways. So for instance, men are way more likely to commit crimes. Men are way more likely to kill themselves. These were just a few of the examples I gave. Now, if you want to challenge me within relationship dynamics, when there's physical abuse, women are more likely to strike the other partner. Now, they don't do as much damage as men, because even if you got a chart showing how much women abuse men, if we look at a chart to see who ends up in the hospital more or where severe damage is done, that's 95% favoring men over women. Not to excuse the women that hit their partners, that's not okay either. But if you want to talk about within abusive relationships,
hold on. We're taking it point by point.
Sure.
I don't have the data on that, but even if I'm trusting your data, and I know this, and I've talked to countless number of men, I know that's not empirical data, but men don't. Men tend to walk it off. Men typically not going to go in the hospital, basically, holding their swollen eye. Men typically aren't going to do that. However, I will grant you a point in the sense that men are in position, just in terms of just pure muscle mass, they can cause more violence. The reason that
I will grant you a point. Here we go. I told you, they keep having to agree with the dude in the end.
They can cause more damage. I definitely will grant that. But the reason that I even brought that up to begin with is that you try to let women off the hook as not being these emotional train wrecks. If they're hitting more, they're being emotional train wrecks. And also, it's very much worth pointing out, and it was a video that just went viral, and viral videos are not empirical data, but it's just a good shining example that's fresh on everybody's mind. Bowling balls are heavy. Household objects and appliances are heavy. A woman just knocked the guy out with a bowling ball, if that video was real. So yes, somebody that you're around the house with, that you live with, that you sleep around, you go to sleep for 8 hours around her, she can do damage to you. So I don't.
Sure, I understand this, but
okay.
We're getting a little silly. We can talk to people, but if you look at who's more likely to die from domestic violence, right? It's 82-18. Women are 82% more likely to actually be killed by their partner than men. versus men are like comprise like 18%, right? The backing up again on the macro level, the reason why I just don't like these statements, you're saying that let women off the hook for being emotional wrecks. I'm not trying to let anybody off the hook. I'm not trying to attack one side. Well, yeah, because you're viewing this as like adversarial. The reality is that men and women are both emotional. Men and women both have emotional problems, and these problems come out in different ways. But I think, and I don't think this is arguable, I think that men for the longest time have not been dealt or have not been taught healthy ways for how to deal with their emotions. Do you think that that's true, or do you disagree with that? Do you think that men have been taught? Like that's like and then the examples of that I gave are like domestic violence or like suicide rates or whatever. And I guess we can argue inside of those if you want to get into it. But I think broadly speaking, do you disagree with that point, or?
No, I agree that something needs to be done, and this.
I agree. See, this is the problem with these fools. You can sit there and they're gonna keep agreeing with you, but they don't want to change.
Spaces have talked about that a lot. When men go to therapy, is normally a woman, completely different ideology, who's not really processing what he's saying. So yes, there are legitimate issues that men do need to work out, and some mechanism or infrastructure does need to be in place to get men the help that they need, whether it's coming home from a war, PTSD, all of that stuff. I definitely 100% agree with you that something needs to be in place. The reason it came off as if you were letting women off the hook because you predicated your argument by it's like
it didn't come off that way. He saw him talk to Myron Gaines, and because he's a follower, he assumed some things. Because when I did the other two videos on this blue-haired dude, if I was watching from a certain point of view, I would have viewed things a certain type of way also. But that's not what's going on. No.
Like you came in trying to argue that women weren't as bad with this. I think when I showed you an area where they were bad, then you try to equalize it and say, okay, well, men just need to go work on these things. Like if you would have just started saying, hey, I think men got some things they need to work on, then we just would have had a conversation about things that men need to work on. But
well, sure. But I guess the issue that I have is that, like, when we talk about there are things that men need to work on, the feeling that I get, especially when talking to Fresh Fit, and it felt like you were saying something similar, was that, well, no, the problem isn't that men need to work on things. The problem is that the standards have gotten so much higher, and women's minds are being poisoned by things like social media, and they have all these higher expectations. You want men to be way, 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 way better. I do want men to be better. Like, I think that the standards for maintaining relationships way back in the day were really fucking low, having a paycheck, and now you have to actually be a real partner to gain a relationship. But it feels like for the Redpill guys, it's always like attack women, attack women, attack women. So when I come in, I'm usually not here to defend women. I'm just here to say, like, men have a lot of the same problems. That can come off as a defense of women, but trust me, nobody shits on women more than I do on my stream, and I've had a lot of history of doing it. Yeah, I'll attack women for a lot of stupid things they do. And I think a lot of the world right now has been built up for women emotionally, whether we're talking about college support, where women are out-graduating men by 20 points, 60%, 40%, whether we're talking about, you brought up therapy is a really good example.
And look, he's fucking shocked. He's fucking shocked. He's shocked that this dude sees this shit too. Everybody ain't sitting there looking at one piece of the world like you, homie. He's shocked. He's like, oh.
Well, the vast majority of therapists are women, and women can talk to women better probably than women can help men with their problems. That's all true, and I agree with you. But all of it is going to further my point of women are doing better than men in a lot of these emotional regards because so much of the world is geared towards helping them. And I think that on our side, we need to gear the world more towards helping men rather than saying fuck women for making all this progress. They need to go back to not being allowed to work so that we can just earn a paycheck and earn them that way, right? The goal should be to elevate men. Yeah.
No, that ain't it. Just fuck women for making all.
Yeah. No, that's what you saying, homie. He's about to say it ain't that. He's about to say that, but that ain't. That's exactly what the fuck is going on. That's exactly what's going on with these manosphere guys. The only way to give them what they want will be to set women back to the Stone Age. Pretty much. That's what these guys want. It's like what Blue Hair just told them. You want to set women back so you can make it easier for you. Now he's gonna sit there and say, no, it ain't like that. but his damn talking points and everything are going to be complaining about that kind of stuff. Let's see what he says.
All this progress. That's not it. That's not what's going on. As far as the market changing, and you say that the red pill community basically says that men just need to stay the same and not adjust to the market. No, that's not true. That's literally not true. I can quote you so many people in this space where they say so many things that get on your purpose, become successful, increase your value, and you know, like that's a normal conversation.
That's not
space.
normal. Oh, no. It's a normal conversation.
Hold on, wait, hold on. Even the example that you gave that we rolled in on when you talk about, you know, fresh and fit, like, yes, they acknowledge all the bullshit in the market. They acknowledge what men are legitimately up against. But their philosophy is a philosophy. And I mean, I personally don't think it will really work. But a lot of what they're saying is that they're basically telling guys, you know, go out there and become super uber successful and be one of the top percentage of men. That's ultimately what they do when they do their shows that where they don't got the women on there. They do something called Money Mondays and all of that stuff where they're trying to basically, you know, give men the tools that they need to do better, because they're like, the market isn't going to change, the women aren't going to change, you got to beat the market. And that's pretty much what
I understand what you're saying, but like that advice is
acknowledging the change of it, acknowledging how these women is, that ultimately arms men with the tools that they need in order to go out there and compete in the market.
Okay. So I disagree with the last statement. So when you say what is the red pill advice, my argument is the red pill advice is dog shit because it's only applying to 1% of men. And even on Fresh and Fit, the last time I was on there, now this was the time before that.
That's why I just said, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you. That's why I said it won't work, because I think you're being a good dating coach and a life coach if you tell a man, hey, get out there and become a top 5%er, but you're being a shitty social scientist because every man is not going to become a top 5%er.
Sure. So when
every man is not going to become a top 5%er, you do got to look at the overall market and what's going to happen to the regular Joes at the bottom and in the middle. In the middle. Okay, go ahead.
When I've been on these shows, they've admitted that their advice only applies to the top 1% of men, right? So if all of your shows are geared around giving advice to the top 1% of men, right? And as you said, like, they want you to go out there, be uber successful, gain uber much money. Not most people can do that. Like 99% of people listening to your shit are not going to do it. So that advice is garbage. It's not good advice. And when you're gearing everything around like, oh, well, this is how you can pick up women by being a six-figure guy that's, you know, super tall, gets jacked in the gym, or whatever. It's like, okay, well, 99% of your audience is being, not only are they being left in the dark, they're being turned down like a really dark black pill incel path, because now all they're being told is like, if you can't hit these standards, women won't fuck with you. Women are hypergamous. Women naturally.
Yeah. That's why this motherfucker is saying the same thing I be saying. And that's what they doing to them dudes. And he's understanding that. That's some old other shit, man. That's far out there.
Least select for the top man. None of this is even true, by the way, but they'll say this over and over and over again while telling their audience the only way you're ever going to get these women is to be as successful as we are. When you talk about how like they want to elevate men and they don't want men to be like, well, no, you said a bunch of shit, so now I'm going to say a bunch of shit. That's how it's going to go. Okay?
Goddamn. How many points? How many
3 points. Only 3 points because when I started writing, because you want to talk a lot, right? When you talk about like growing men to be something better, that's what I would talk about. This is 2023. We need to grow men to be better, to adapt to the modern age, but all I hear red pillers speak about is traditionalism. These guys are obsessed with Islam now, okay? They want to go back to the Stone Ages. Like, women need to go back to this, men need to go back to this. In order to succeed as a man, you've got to be traditional and do blah, 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 blah. Wait, shit, did he dip? Wait, did he actually just leave? Oh,
my bad, bro.
Sorry.
I was trying to pull up a notebook so I can type and write and
oh, gotcha. Yeah, you're good. Okay. It feels like they're saying traditional. Like, I don't think traditional is the way to go as a man now. You got to adapt. You're in a modern age, right? You have to adapt to the current day. The way that you would get a woman today is not the way that you would get a woman 40 years ago, 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago. And then the final point.
That's why they say be better and
be better how? Be top 1%? That's not real advice.
I agree.
Okay, then we agree that they give dog shit advice. That's good. Okay. The final point. Wait,
because he is agreeing they're giving dog shit advice. You can't, if you, maybe, like I've been doing my like poor people finance shows, but see, They don't have time to help the average person. That's really what it is. They after the money, and there's nothing wrong with that either. They doing what they gotta do to get the money. That's how I feel about Fresh and Fit. They give shitty advice. They shitty ass people and losers, but they getting rich off of it, and you gotta respect them for that. So.
The final point, and then you can respond. The final point was you're talking about how they're arming men to succeed. They're not arming men to succeed. They're barely talking about how top 1% men can women. I have never in my life, and maybe I'm just missing the conversations, but I've never in my life heard these guys talk about, like, how do you get in a relationship? How do you maintain a relationship? What should you look for in a relationship? It's always like, these are how you bang hoes. This is how you get chicks to this is the Bugattis that you need to buy to get the maximum number of girls riding your and that's the only thing I hear. How is that helping men to succeed when the advice is so hyper-targeted and it's only targeted towards hookup culture and not actually getting and maintaining relationships? There you go.
All right. So I do want to make one thing clear. And I've said this on my show a number of times, that if somebody is giving advice that's only going to work for the top 1%er, they are not giving good overall broad advice. And I just said that before you came up here. I don't think that somebody should listen to them for their overall general game advice. There's aspects of it that I've always said that I disagree with. I think when they're arguing the points, the views, the sentiments of men, I think they're typically getting it right. The majority of the time. The majority of the time when they're analyzing how women operate, how the market has changed. The part where I think you're getting it wrong is that you're saying that the space overall is just hell-bent on traditionalism and doesn't give modern advice. The space came into existence basically because it's...
He ain't wrong. They hell-bent on traditionalism. That's why that shit can't work, though. It can't. Because things ain't traditional no more. That's what the dude is telling them. But this dude can't see that. He can't see that. He's so caught up in that shit that he can't see that these guys talking about the 50s and 60s pretty much.
Giving men modern advice on how to deal with how modern women are operating. That's what the space does, and you're straw manning it by saying that it's just a bunch of people just basically saying become the top 1%er. There is an emphasis on success and being all you could be and being the best. And you even talked about that when you saying that a man is going to have to do more. Yeah, part of that more that he has to do is become more successful and build himself up. There is some character things and personality things. You haven't substantiated that men are lacking in the character and personality department. You haven't fully substantiated that. You're basically just operating on faith that men just have terrible personalities and they're just awful. I mean, I know you said that you didn't say that, but those are the practical implications of what you're saying if you follow the logic all the way home. So
if this man said that that's not what he's saying, then you have to go with that. Here's another red pill problem, okay? If you tell them that you're saying this to the rest of the world, they'll tell you, no, I'm not. I'm saying this. And you're supposed to go with what they're saying. But if you do it, you can't do that. That's why they're bad relationship people. This is why they cannot fucking make it. They're hypocrites. Every last one of them. That's the real issue.
You're operating on that assumption, and then when people are trying to ultimately, essentially say that this is how you adjust and maneuver in this modern market because it doesn't operate the way that it is, you would then accuse them of being stuck on some type of traditionalism when the reality is they're not being 100% stuck on it. They would like things to go back to that. A lot of people, myself, I would like things to go back to something more traditional, but I understand the practical reality.
I'm telling you, see, it's gonna come out of their mouth sooner or later. They want to go back. There ain't no going back, homie. There ain't no going back. That's their problem. They want to go back. They'll set women back. He's already told them, you want to set it back to this right here, so you can just do that. And he's right about that. He's telling the absolute truth about that. That's what's going on.
of what things are, and it's just generally not going to work that way. It's just generally not going to work that way. But to say that trash advice is being given, I don't think you substantiated that. I think you typecast and strawmanned and basically saying that this whole space is saying be the top 1%er and you'll get chicks. I don't.
That's basically what it feels like to me every time I listen. It's like you got to make yourself successful, you got to become a high value man, and then once that happens, like the girls and shit will follow.
Do you deny that simple point that if you become more successful, that you would have an easier go with women? But there are other ways to win.
For sure, but I mean, like also if you pick
there's a lot of guys that talk about your game. And we talking about game. I mean, I look at it as just social skills and simple do's and don'ts when dealing with women. Like, so that's a big part of what they talk about, or what a lot of people in this space talk about. So that's why I don't understand exactly what you mean when you're essentially saying that the only advice is to become a top 1%er. If you become a top 1%er, yeah, you dunked on the goddamn game. You won. But within that, yes, the way that you maneuver, the way that you operate, those are things that people talk about all the time when it comes to dealing with women. So I don't know how you could just stereotype it or straw man it into being just this one thing. That's a very convenient trap to try to set.
Okay, so here's a question. From all the entire Red Pill space, what is like a couple of pieces of advice that they give for maintaining healthy relationships?
Hey girl, I want.
Got him. I think he got him. Because that was a hell of a question. Let's see what he say.
Okay. When it comes to maintaining healthy relationships, they talk about you do need to be the leader. You need to operate and move from a position of power. Women do like a man who's in control. So they talk about it from that perspective. I definitely talk about it from that perspective. I talk about it from the perspective of if you're dealing with the woman, make sure you're dealing with the woman on your terms. If she agrees and complies to your terms, and then you have your two people moving forward in the same direction that actually agree, that are working towards a common goal, that she's following your lead. Because a woman, I mean, they can talk about all this egalitarian stuff all we want. The fact of the matter is, a woman wants to be with a man whose lead she could follow. And so you need to be the leader. You need to be in control. You need to manage the situation at every end and every turn. So yeah, those.
Every time one of these dudes talk, this starts sounding like a woman's daddy.
Those are the simple things that I say, and I'm no dating coach or game coach, but those are just the simple things that I say to make sure that you're doing it on your terms. That's more or less. And the women who rock with you, who like with you, or the woman who rocks with you and likes with you, she will typically comply to your terms. And once that's established and once that's going on, then you can maneuver within there. Like it's a multivariant analysis of advice, and I think. I mean, it's easy to just pinpoint one thing and just say, that part is bad. The part that you pointed out that's bad is the part that I agreed is bad if that's the whole of your advice. But it's not bad advice to increase your value. It's not bad advice to become a top 10%er. It's not bad advice to become a top 15%er. That's not bad advice. It increases your options. It increases your reach. It increases what you would be willing to do.
What this dude is misunderstanding is he's not saying this bad advice. What he's saying is you're setting a goal for some people who ain't gonna get there, and when they don't get there, they're gonna crash. When they crash, you create these fucked up people. They don't understand they're creating these jacked up people that are probably going to become the doggone red pill rages and junk like that, because most of them ain't going to get to this point. It's a lot of hard work to get this point that they're talking about. A lot of people not going to have the resolve, and they're going to try to follow this and go that way, and it's like, it's not. See, they're looking at it as, well, some people are going to make it, one or two. Yeah. But because they're following this thing, they're not gonna have they're not gonna be right when they get there. They don't understand.
And so are able to do, and you'll tolerate far less when you become more successful. So that part of it is not a bad thing. And I don't know how you could even look at that as a bad thing. The only way you can say that that's a bad thing is if you build a straw man and say that's the only thing, and that's not the only thing.
Yeah, so I guess the issue that I have is that, and this is brought up, and we don't have to get too deep into this because this will be a whole other conversation. But when I hear red pillars talk about women, it honestly sounds like they're talking about like children. Like that's what it feels like. Like almost everything you describe.
Sometimes women act like children. Yeah.
And men don't.
Yeah, some men do act like children. Yeah.
Okay, so that statement you just made was pointless. Sometimes women act like children, but sometimes men act like children. So the real answer is sometimes people act like children, right? But that's not what you're saying. You're saying you need to be a leader, you need power, you need to be in control, you need to deal with them on your terms. Like it sounds like you're talking about training a dog or raising a child. Like that's what the advice sounds like, broadly speaking. And when red pillars talk about relationships, that oftentimes feels like what they're talking about. But again, I would argue that this sort of view of a relationship is highly traditional. I don't know if this is as applicable in the modern day world. And I hate to come across as like a blue-haired, blue pill, gay, whatever the fuck, but like when we talk about like relationships, I think that the emotional expansion of what men are capable of is like the big frontier that they need to push into. The idea of this like be a leader, take control, all of this stuff, like the dog raising strategies, that's some shit that might have worked like 50, 60, 70 years ago. But I think you have to bring more to the table than that.
Okay, but
You know, I like how Blue Hair said, I don't want to come off like a gay fake, you know, saying, yeah, I can't say, I can only say the word. Starts with an F and rhymes with raggedy. Yeah, starts with an F, rhymes with raggedy. Okay? I don't want to sound like a you know, just I like how I like that energy right there, cause he's like, I get how you feel about me, but he's still dropping that game on that ass, and so it's like, psst, you can't do nothing but fucking respect that. You couldn't, and also the motherfucker's right. So yeah, damn man, I was gonna turn this shit off a long time ago, but shit, I never really got into it, so let's just keep rolling. Hell, I can cut this shit down some too.
one thing is hard to change is nature, and I'll just speak personally. My woman likes to follow my lead. She likes to look up to me. She wants to be with a man who's bigger, stronger, smarter, and able to. She likes being with a man who's better than her.
Yeah, but are we giving advice on the show on how to date your woman or how to date women in general? That's great if your woman likes that.
I think that applies broadly to women in general, regardless of what they say. With all the feminist propaganda and everything out there, the fact of the matter is, the guy who they end up with is the guy who they look up to, who they feel comfortable following. Now, within the framework of that following, yes, of course you're going to listen to her from time to time. Of course, you're going to hear some things that she's saying. Of course, absolutely, 100%. Of course, you're going to have a relationship. You're going to have a relationship. You're going to talk. You're going to communicate. But the fact of the matter is that if you build yourself up and you're a man that she respects, and sometimes there's a such thing as a man who just has a certain type of mentality that she could respect, whether it's his success or whether it's just his mentality, how he moves, or just how she feels about him. The fact of the matter is that woman looking up to that man and following the lead of that man, regardless of whatever feminist propaganda or whatever is going on, that is valuable to relationships functioning, because if she can't follow the lead of that man, with a lot of them, they tend to lose respect. And when they lose respect, that's where a lot of the arguments and the combativeness comes from. That's where relationships fall apart. If it's clearly defined and understood who's the leader, and one person is leading and one person is following, that reduces arguments, that reduces conflict, that reduces everything bad that can happen in a relationship. And I say,
you know, here's the main issue with this shit. Homeboy is trying to put this shit together with the big list of rules. But if you don't understand emotional shit too, you're gonna fail with women. If you don't understand emotional shit, you're gonna fail with women. It doesn't matter how many goddamn rules you understand. You can understand all the rules of women. All of them. Every last one of these little rules they put down, you can understand all of them. But if you can't get them to feel a certain way, you're going to have fucking issues.
saying things can't happen badly, but if a guy is basically, trying to acquiesce to the woman then she's going to, in most cases, look at this as a controllable man who she could bend to her will. And then when that happens, it just increases the probability that that woman is not going to have the full respect of that man. That woman is not going to have the full respect of that man. And I think that's where a lot of guys run into a lot of problems. That's how a lot of guys ended up in this space, because they couldn't understand or make sense of why they were ending up in situations where they thought they were doing everything right, but this woman still was getting out of pocket with them, was still being disrespectful. And
because most men don't understand the emotional aspect of shit. See, Blue Hair don't gotta tell him that. I could drop that on his ass. And Blue Hair probably gonna drop it on him in about 5 minutes when I let him talking. But the whole deal of it is this right here. Most of them not failing because they can't do the man shit. Most of them is failing because they don't understand the woman shit. That's the problem. You can do the man stuff, but you still gotta understand the woman stuff too. You still have to understand feelings and all that other junk. All this little list of rules. No. Oh yeah, y'all check out that Fruit Loop strain. Y'all see that? It's very good. Yeah, Fruit Loops. Let's try that out. Okay. And you can get it on Chronic Guru. But anyway. Yeah. This dude ain't getting it. And that's the real problem with that. Let's go ahead and see what the rest of you got to say.
And that's so men learn things. And AM, I saw you down there, Angry Man. If you want to, I wouldn't open it. I see it's a lot of people in the back. I wasn't opening it up for nobody. But if Angry Man want to come up and get a piece of this, Angry Man, you got it.
Well, here, listen. I should have got scheduled. If you want to have another more in-depth conversation on this tomorrow, we can. I mean, like, obviously, I disagree with every single thing you said. I think all of your advice is like good dating advice. If this was like the 20s, but like people have changed, times have changed, standards have changed. Even that appeal to nature.
So men should bend to how women have changed.
Women have, yeah, women have changed dramatically. So why can't men change?
Women have changed.
Are men the only ones that can't evolve? Women are. They work jobs. They do better in school. They are leading successful lives. Like if women have been capable of doing all these things.
They burned a lot of bras in the streets in order to be able to do that. So you're saying it as if they graciously did something they didn't want to do. No, they got what they fought for.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if they graciously did this shit or not. Deal of it now. The move done been made. See, these guys can't play. This is just like sports, dog. It's just like sports. I keep telling people this is a contact sport. You scared to get hit, stay the fuck out the game. All right. He's trying to say, okay, well, they got one play on us where they were supposed to get a penalty, but they didn't get the penalty, and that cost us the game because we quit playing because that we saw that happen. Hell no, you still supposed to try to come back. See, these people ain't got no warrior spirit, guy. These ain't men. These are not men. I'm gonna let them talk. And I'm gonna roll this joint.
Of course, and they fought to change and they fought to do all these things. That's great. So if you want to be like a man that could get a woman, you have to follow suit. You can't just sit here and cry that like women are working now and now it's too hard and blah blah blah. I think men can catch up too. I think men can do just fine. There just has to be people out here that respect women the way that women, at the very least, respect themselves, right? And I think that all of these people preaching like one-sided open relationships and that women just like they can't change and nature is nature, blah blah blah. Despite the fact that women today are way different than they were 100 years ago, whereas men seem to be stuck in the past. I don't know. I don't think that's a successful.
All right. Real quick. One thing I gotta say, I don't argue from the perspective that men can't get women. That's not my thing. And the red pill manosphere space, I think is separate from the incel space. The people who argue from the perspective that men can't win in today's game, I'm not with them. I'm with the ones who saying the game is different, understand how it's different.
Man, I'm excited. I just went to the mailbox and guess what I got? Not one, not two, but
and operate accordingly, given the fact that the game is different.
You keep saying that, but like all of your advice is like traditional dating advice. Nothing you've said is different. Everything you've said is that like women want strongly, like everything you're describing is like the archetypical like 20s male. nothing is different. So how are you saying that, like,
because there's aspects of nature that hasn't changed, and so I'm going to stand on that. Obviously, the game is different, but when you talk about women changing, no, I think they fought for more freedom, and that's cool. This is America. They're supposed to have life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, and the whole works. They're supposed to have all that.
You see, every time these guys start saying something about women's freedom or women having something, they have to affirm that that's okay, because it's not okay to them. It's not okay to them. They have to affirm it out loud so that maybe they can make everybody else hear it. But it's not okay to them. Really, it's not.
But that has changed the market, and men are talking about the change in that market and the things that they need to do to deal with that market. And I think that you're essentially gaslighting men out of reaching better clarity of what's going on in the market, where the game is different, the market is different, but a lot of the nature is still the same. And in my experience and experience of a lot of men, regardless of all this new age feminist stuff that's going on, women still want to look up to that man and follow the lead of the man. That's what I'm saying here. But I know you said you had to go, but
what is you
here
waiting
you go. You right here. I got you.
Let this dude run away. Soon as you said my name, he talking about he gotta go. Nah, don't go nowhere.
okay,
Don't go nowhere. Stay
All right.
your ass right here. First of all, Bernard, I don't know what you doing up here, bruh. To go back to what you said, men rarely act like children. Women almost always act like children. Men built this world and continue to maintain this world. If women took a day off today, if all women took a day off today, no one would give a shit. If all men took a day off today, the world would come to a crash and halt. What are you talking about, dude?
Are you screaming at me or him?
I'm screaming at you.
Okay, well, firstly, you came here acting like a child, saying men don't act like children, so I think that's very funny.
Okay, first of all, number one, hey, hold on.
I'm not able to respond to your whole statement because you're gonna sit here and scream the whole time. Okay, if that's what you want to do, go for it. I have an 11-year-old kid, so I'm used to somebody just screaming the whole time. Go for it. Yeah, what do you got?
First of all, dude, you're acting like a woman. Don't tell me how to talk.
Gotcha.
Okay, just because a man raises his voice does not mean he's acting like a child. Do not do that shaming tactic crap with me.
I'm just making an observation. You can scream and whine all you want. That's fine. I'm all here for your crying, dude. I'm here for your emotional outlet, okay? I'll play the woman part, and you can treat me like your mom, but that's what you want to do, dude.
Address what I'm saying.
What, that I'm acting like a woman? What do you want me to say? How am I supposed to address that?
Chill with the shaming tactics. Be a grown man and address my talking points.
Okay, I didn't hear any yet. What were your talking points? That if all men took the day off, the world would fall apart, and if women took the day off...
Would you like me to repeat it?
For a lot of the men that succeed, they can only do so because women are holding it down at home, right? If these guys... Bullshit. Who the fuck is taking care of the kids when men are out working?
Plenty of successful multi-millionaire men that do not have children and are not in relationships. Try again.
Okay, so do you think that the goal of man shouldn't be to have children?
The goal of men is to continue to make sure this world spins. Some men may choose to have children, others don't. Multi-millionaire men can have surrogate women and have people watch their kids or send their kids to freaking boarding school.
I can't believe it's a fucking black dude talking this goddamn dumb. Oh my fucking goodness. Y'all, I'm gonna let this shit finish on up. I got...
Cool. Try again.
Okay, I guess in the world where men are buying surrogate women and are sending their children to boarding school at age 0, and I suppose those are all being worked at by men as well. Bro, I don't know what you want me to say.
They're not buying women. They're not buying women. What are you talking about? Buying women.
What do you mean getting surrogate women and sending their children to boarding school?
Don't women get surrogate women?
Tell me what you mean when you say surrogate women. What are you talking about? Just somebody to watch it like a babysitter? Or are you talking about like a surrogate, like have a child for me?
What I am talking about, because you seem to have difficulty understanding. If a man is a multi-millionaire and he doesn't want to deal with the issues of being in a relationship and he decides he wants to have children, he can get a surrogate mother to have a child for him, or he can adopt a kid. But he still has the ability to have someone watch that kid for him without being in a relationship.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat this because you're having trouble, probably because you're really emotional, understanding my question. So I'll ask one more time. What do you mean by surrogate woman? What do you mean by surrogate woman?
You're deflecting.
I'm not. I just asked you a question. You just deflected
Yes,
again.
you are. You don't know the
You're
definition
doing the-
of a surrogate mother? You don't know the definition?
All right, real quick, y'all, real quick.
You don't know the definition of a surrogate mother?
I'm trying to figure out how you're using it.
Come on, man.
No, he made a simple point. You're saying that men need women, and he was just pointing out that there is a way for men to ultimately raise a kid without a woman.
Yeah, I'm just curious. When he says surrogate, is he just saying? Is he just
I'm a
saying?
single dad. Men can raise kids without women. We can.
Well, no, but I mean, you're gonna have to get a babysitter or something, right?
I mean, yes.
Are those babysitters usually men or women?
It can be either or.
Okay, so
Aren't you the new age guy that thinks everything is freaking, gender neutral and equal? Why couldn't it be a guy?
That's not what he asked you. He asked you if it's going to tend to be a guy or not. And hell no, because guys ain't trying to watch no fucking kids. That's that little fruity. They might be into that. I mean, like, boy.
I haven't said anything about everything being gender neutral and equal, but that's cute if you think that. I'm just trying to figure out, like,
I mean, my bad. I'm making an assumption. You're the one with the blue hair.
Fuck, there are so many things I could say right now, but it would power your shit. Like, I don't want to hear you crying about, I can't do it. I can't do it.
And see, here's the deal. See, they gotta start attacking the dude. This guy don't got no damn real point. He gotta start doing physical, doing attacks. I'm gonna watch the rest of this because it's almost done. I may as well finish it now. Shit.
Because the problem is, if I say shit to you about the way that you look, I'm gonna get canceled by your entire crowd. So I'm just gonna peace. It's fun. Have fun.
That's what you
Yep.
leaving.
Is this a rage quit?
I can't say shit to this guy, dude. It's like beating up a fucking 9-year-old. This is like arguing with a retarded child. What the fuck am I supposed to say? This is a bait. This is a bait for me, right? I'm rolling around in the mud with a pig. I'm gonna walk out dirty. This guy's gonna go home the same as he always has been. So it's been fun. I enjoyed it.
Definitely, real quick.
Yeah,
Hold on. Hey, Destiny, let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Did you know about Angry Man before today?
No, I had no idea who this guy is.
Okay, because it seems like when I mentioned him that you start trying to leave, so I was thinking it maybe was some.
No, I've got a thing scheduled in about an hour and a half. There's another person I was supposed to talk to, so I didn't want to completely cut them out because I randomly jumped on your show. That person messaged me about 20 minutes ago. If you want to set up another combo, I'll be streaming tomorrow, same time. We can talk for as long as you want. We can scream at each other.
Right.
I can help you work through your emotions and everything. Angry
You
Man.
talk to Angry Man. You talk to Angry Man tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I start at 12 EST, and I'll be streaming for 4 hours.
All right,
We
I
can
wanna
chat.
get that one.
We can work
Hold on,
through his
let's-
femininity. He seems like he's got a lot of things he wants to talk about.
Hold on.
First of
Let's
all,
get that set up.
I'm
Wait
not-
a minute. Let's get it set up.
I'm not functional. You know that, sir. You know that, sir. Stop.
Let's get it set up. Let's not talk past the date. Okay, Destiny, you gonna be on 12 p.m. 12 what?
We
AM?
can talk 1 p.m. tomorrow EST if you want. I'll be free for 3
1 p.m.
hours.
tomorrow EST.
Doing straight up business with their ass and they still acting like fucking bitches. Just so y'all know, all black people ain't this goddamn dumb. They ain't.
Yeah.
And so if Angry Man go live and he and y'all come up, merge it in together and that's a date. Y'all can go at it tomorrow. That fair?
Yeah, sounds good
You
to
with
me.
that, Destiny?
Yep.
You with that AM?
It is what it is.
All right. Well, we got a date for tomorrow. I didn't want it to seem like you just ran because Angry Man showed up. I think it's only right you set up a date for tomorrow, so it don't look like
I'm
you
doing
ran.
this out of the charity of my good heart. I don't know.
He was already setting up a date with this fool before Angry Man got on. He was like, hey, look, I got to get off of here. I can't be on here, keep doing a whole bunch of stuff, but if you want to talk tomorrow, we can stream all we want to. They try to make it look like he was trying to run. Nah. If I'm running, I'm just saying I'm going. I'm not setting a damn date for tomorrow. No.
obligation to talk anyway. But I'll talk to him. That sounds good. Yeah. Okay.
Understand that.
Get the fuck out of here.
That's all right. I'm all about giving back to communities and everything. So I'm here to do charity just for you, Andrew, man. That's what I'm here for. Okay. That's what I'm here, dude. It's all good.
All right,
Man.
a lot of that racist liberal came out right there. All right, anyway.
No, that was the blue hair liberal. Have fun. I'll be back tomorrow.
Okay, yeah.
I can't. When they go in an appearance, there's like 52 million, like 2009 insults that pop in my head, and I can't say anything. I feel like I got my arms tied behind my back, and I can't. It's so hard. Holy shit! Because like these guys can go in on my sexuality, they can go into my blue hair, they can go into my lifestyle, they can go into like anything. And if there's like every insult that I could possibly do towards them that's stereotyping is gonna be like in time to cancel Destiny. I don't even know if I should f with these people, or if I should have a rule where like I can't talk to, I just can't talk to black red pill people. Because it's like, there's like 52 different ways that I could f my entire life up if I'm not careful.
I feel you, bro. I feel you, because they want to try to get on that racist shit, and it ain't even about that. But you fucked their ass up, and they can't talk about nothing else, so they had to find something.
Holy shit. Destiny, why is racism your only comeback? Why is calling me a switch hitter, making fun of my blue hair, or making fun of my wife? Why are those the only comebacks? What do you mean? It's not my, bro, my racism can be a lot more creative there than their
Whichever civilization.
I'm gonna let him finish his
That's
rant.
what we play. No backseats. Okay?
Let's do this.
homophobia or cuck jokes, okay? I got a lot of creative racist insults I can make, but I'm not allowed to say any of that shit, whereas they can go like super hard, super personal, super appearance-based. I can't say anything, dude. Like, it's... Oh, God. Oh, shit. Black online debaters are like the new trans people. My hands are tied behind my back. I can't insult their appearance. I can't insult their lifestyles. I can't insult any data about them. It actually is the same fucking shit. Holy shit. I just figured this out. Fuck me, dude. What's up? I'm sorry.
I mean, it's all good, bro.
How you doing, buddy?
It's all good.
Oh, sorry. Hello.
What's up?
Just totally zoning out.
Nice.
Good. How are you doing?
Okay. I gotta take off, I think, in like 40 minutes, though, so you're always catching me like right at the end of the few scheduled things I have. But what's up?
I was just watching the end part of it. I think you have. I don't understand how you endure that.
It's a lot of practice. When people call me a cuck all the time, what they actually should be referring to are those types of conversations. Because goddamn, there's like a million things I wish I could say, but I can't anymore because of the year we're in. But
So why do you have those conversations?
I'm 34 years old and I have a lot of experience in terms of like sex and dating. And the red pill people today that dominate online conversations, unironically, sound like, not only do they sound like they don't have any experience in relationships, a lot of them don't have any sexual experience either. And so like the types of advice that are being given to like young men that are dominated in these spaces by people that suddenly have no relationship experience is really sad to me. So I don't know.
I fucking agree with that dude. I fucking agree with that dude. That's why I be being about the red pill. Because I be like, these motherfuckers ain't got no experience with women. They probably don't got much sexual experience with women either. I got a lot of both of those. Just experience talk with women and sexual experience with women.
I feel like it's like important to at least have some of the conversations, but Jesus Christ, you know.
Do you feel like you're having an impact though? Like are you actually having any sort of change?
My impact somehow it was kind of surprising, but I think the impact is really big. I've had like a pretty big explosion of popularity over the past like I think 4 or 5 months, and a lot of it has come off the backs of like arguing with these communities. Yeah.
Oh man, that's such a conflicting set of incentives. Like I would hate if I were in a position where like the key to my success was like engaging with people who don't debate very well.
Well, it's not. I look at it as more like a how can I say this without sounding cringe? I don't want to say it's like a moral calling, but like I'm not looking at this in terms of just like career success, because like I'm like I could just play Factorial Day and be okay. It's not like I'm hurting for money or anything. I think it's like an important thing that more people need to speak out on.
Yeah.
And left-leaning people do so bad.
That's the only reason why I do my channel right there, because there's some bullshit that people need to speak out on. If it ain't but a small voice to say something about it that people can find later. Maybe you can save 1 or 2 people or whatever. I'm gonna let him finish up and then we get out of here, y'all.
At like talking about men's issues without coming off as like so fucking accusatory, or just calling them all evil rapists or whatever. So yeah, I think it's important to speak up against it. Yeah.
Like career success is pretty defined with like the things that you really believe in. Like if you have a bigger platform, you can like more efficiently communicate the things that you think are good.
Mm-hmm.
My body's like a little tense from listening to it. I don't think I could do that.
Well, it's just we all just like to scream at each other,
Yeah.
Well, what's up? How was your
There was like some like vague things that I was like, oh, we could talk about this thing or that thing, but they're all kind of gone now.
Oh, do you like write anything down ever, or?
Well, I mean, I do, but not usually about things I want to talk about. I was impressed you were making notes.
Oh yeah, I have to, because my brain will want to move to a million different things. If I don't write notes, I get uncentered in a conversation, and I make the mistake of letting the other person lead me through the conversation. So if there are points that I want to make, or if there are issues I want to nail them down on, I'll just get lost like following them around. So I have to like write notes to keep track of what's being said. Yeah.
It's like closer to jujitsu or something than it is like actual conversation. Like the moves that are being made in conversation are not for the purpose of like communicating, but rather to like express dominance. And you have to like kind of respond to it. You have to like be.
At this point, I'm gonna pause them because they kind of just talking about stuff now. Okay. So look. Once again, this blue-haired guy done schooled the hell out of these people. Okay. He's right though. This thing needs to get talked about by people, and it needs to be kind of put out there because that's a big group of people that's kind of building up to bad things. They don't understand that they are, but it's coming. It's coming. Hey, look, y'all. I'm finna be out here on this one. I think the blue-haired guy, he held his own today. He held his own, you know what I'm saying? And he even getting double-teamed and jump. If I ever get big in this, I'm gonna hook up with him and talk with some of the stuff. But and maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, if I ever get in touch with the guy. I don't even know how to do it. So, shit. Yeah. But y'all be out. I'm out. Hit the subscribe button. Let me know what y'all thought about this one. Peace. We get on up out of here.